Lately, I've been really into religions as a concept, especially the conversion side of it and the sales side of it. So in today's video, I want to talk about a book called Triumph of Christianity and talk about some lessons we can learn from how Christianity took over the pagan world. This book tells the story of the Roman Empire and how in the Roman Empire, everyone kind of believed in their own gods. Everyone had their own local gods that they prayed to. They did their own sacrifices. They had their own rituals. But Christianity came along and over the course of around 300 years became one of the largest religions in the world. Anytime there's growth like that, there's something to be learned, regardless of what religion you are, I am, or anything like that. I wasn't reading this from a religious point of view at all. I was just reading this from a marketing point of view. So there are two reasons Christianity took over ancient Rome. One, it was one of the first religions to actively recruit. Christianity borrowed a lot of its belief system from Judaism, the Old Testament and the Bible. So a lot of what they believed did exist in the old world, and Jews had existed before the Roman Empire for thousands of years, like 3,000 or 4,000 years. But with the Jewish people, they weren't actively recruiting. It's a very insular group of people. They're not actively going out and recruiting other members. And this book makes the argument that Christianity was one of the first religions to actively go out and pitch their religion to people. It's a similar process used to Jehovah's Witnesses or the Mormons, where they're going around and preaching to try to get people to join their cause. It's actually the same process used by cults as well, like Heaven's Gate, and was demonstrated amazingly in the movie Kumare, where a guy pretends to become a prophet, then goes to a lot of places where believers would be and pitches to them. Same thing with Christianity. It's like if you were the first company to invent cold calling. The book also talks about how the exponential growth of Christianity is a little misleading because when one person was converted, normally they would bring their whole family in. So one conversion would normally lead to 4 or 5. And in order to get that exponential growth, so 0 to 30 million people in 300 years, something like that, in order to hit that number, they would only need 1 to 2 conversions per year per 100 members to hit millions and millions of people in the religion. It's like if you were the first person to invent cold calling. You'd go out and everyone would be so impressed with the fact that you just got in touch with them that you'd sell way more than any other religion. Especially if you factor in that the major religion at the time, paganism, didn't have a canon and wasn't an actual religion. It was just a series of local beliefs that changed per village. You could also argue that the main religion in the Roman Empire was the worship of the emperor. Back in ancient times, religion and government were the same thing, which is one of the main reasons Christians were persecuted, actually. It's not because the Romans were offended by the monotheistic beliefs. It's actually because in order to believe in God, a lot of the Roman higher-ups thought you had to not believe the emperor was a god, which is true. Based on Christian beliefs, you have to believe that God is God, not the emperor is God. But it brings us to the second point of why Christianity took over the modern world. Christianity required you to remove your faith of the other pagan gods. Other religions up to this point in the Roman world, besides Judaism, but again, they weren't pitching it to people. They weren't trying to sell people and convert them to become Jews. All these other pagan religions could be grafted on to your current religion. So let's say you believed in Zeus and somebody came along and said, hey, I want you to believe in Aphrodite as well. Believing in Aphrodite didn't require you to stop believing in Zeus. You could believe in both. But to believe in Christianity, you had to stop believing Zeus was a god. You couldn't believe Aphrodite was a god. You couldn't believe the emperor was a god. You had to stop all of those beliefs. So in the long run, that meant for every one Christian convert, paganism lost one convert. But what that means in the long run is, let's say there's 2 religions, both are trying to convince a guy that believes in Zeus to believe in their god. If there's a pagan religion and they say you can believe in Aphrodite, but you can also believe in Zeus, at the end of the day, one conversion to this new religion means that Zeus still has one follower and Aphrodite has one follower. But if the same guy was pitching Christianity, this guy getting pitched would have to renounce his belief in Zeus, meaning the believers in Zeus would go down by 1 and the believers in Christianity would go up by 1. In the long run, that means it was inevitable because for every Christian that was added, there was 1 less pagan. Whereas in the past, for every new pagan believer that was added, there would still be the same amount of the old religious believers. It would be like if you invented cold calling, and whether your pitch is good, let's say it converts at 1%, and you said that if people wanted to work with you, they had to ditch all of their other vendors. It wouldn't matter what the conversion rate of that pitch was, as long as you're the only person doing those cold calls, eventually all the other vendors are going to go out of business. Which is exactly where Christianity was for a long time. Constantine converted to Christianity, which led to a lot of the Roman Empire converting. Then the Pope system was created and the religion spread all across the world. If you can't tell, I'm fascinated by this. Check this book out if you haven't yet. It's called The Triumph of Christianity. Thanks for watching the video. If you found value in it, I'd love if you would share it with a friend. We're trying to hit 100,000 subs this year, and every share would be much appreciated. Also, if you need marketing support for your digital agency, check out experiment27.com. Thanks.